I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 6:30. This is the regular monthly meeting of the Platting Board. It's August 5th, 2009. Could we have the roll call, please?
Benjamin Roll. Anastasia Taylor. Here. Art Clark.
Here.
Ellen McKay. Michael Krieger. Jody Moses. Here. Kathleen Plunkett. Carol Stolpe. Here. Lendell Story.
Here. Okay, we're going to do B1, approval of action summaries. Can I have a positive motion, please? Okay. I guess there we no longer have the.
I select Carol Stolpe. Oh, I'm sorry. What is your motion on?
I don't know.
Go back to the on the floor. There you go.
Oh, okay. Carol Stolpe moved and Jody Moses second the motion. Is there any discussion? Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Could I have a motion for approval of the minutes? Okay. I guess there are none. All right. Special order of business. Are there any disclosures? Okay. Consent agenda. We have one item on the consent agenda. Does anybody wish to have that removed from the consent agenda? Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? I think you need to hit reset motion. Okay. Carol Stolpe moved. Jody Moses second. Any discussion? Any opposed? Motion carries. We have no old business. We will now move on to new business. Okay. First off, under new business, we are a short board this afternoon. When there is a short 5-member board of commission, a postponement is offered to the petitioners, and you can have this meeting your hearing postponed until the next meeting. Just to keep that in mind. With 5 members here, if one person votes against your motion, it is not approved. This is our public testimony portion. The public testimony goes, we have a staff presentation. After the staff presentation is completed on public hearing items, the chair will ask for public testimony on the issue. Persons who wish to testify will follow the time limits established in the Platting Board rules of procedure. Petitioners, including all his or her representatives, have 10 minutes. Rebuttal by the petitioner may be allowed when time has been reserved. Representatives of groups, community councils, PTAs, etc. have 5 minutes, individuals 3 minutes. When your testimony is complete, you may be asked questions by the board. You may only testify once on any issue unless questioned by the board. Any individual may have appeal rights relating to any action the Platting Board takes. Appeal of this decision or any of the conditions is governed by AMC 21.11.304. The decision of the board at the scheduled public hearing shall become final 7 calendar days after the date the decision is made on the record, unless a written request is submitted to the planning department prior to the expiration of the 7th day to prepare a written decision based upon the record made at the hearing, and the request is accompanied by written notice of intent to appeal. Adoption of the written decision by the Platting Board becomes the final appealable decision. Within 20 days of the final appealable decision, an interested party must file with the municipal clerk either a written motion alleging new evidence or changing circumstances per AMC 21.11.503, or B, an appeal of the board's final appealable decision per AMC 21.30. We will now take up our first case, which is S11761-1, subdivision Jesse D. Nichols, petitioner Audrey Mason. Could we have the staff report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just, before I begin, wanted to make note of the fact that the petitioner for case S11756 Seabreeze subdivision requested postponement to the November 4th, 2009 Platting Board meeting, which the board approved that postponement when they approved the consent agenda, in case anyone was here to testify for that particular case. This is a request in case S11761 Jesse D. Nichols subdivision. It's a request to remove a plat note that requires a 50-foot building setback on lots 8 and 9 of that subdivision. The property is located at the southeast corner of the Old Glen Highway and the Coronado Road intersection. It's located in downtown Eagle River, and it's zone B3, and it's surrounded by B3 zone property, which is developed with commercial retail uses. This 50-foot building setback was placed on lots 1 through 16 with a recording, was placed on lots 1 through 9 with a recording of plat 6591, and that created 16 lots. The building setback line is measured from the west property boundary. Review of the property appraisal records for these 9 lots indicate that they were all developed primarily in the 60s and 70s. The building setback line has been removed for existing lots 5A and 7A that was a plat that combined 4 lots into 2. Lot 8 of the petition site is vacant, and Lot 9 of the petition site, which was originally developed in 1965, is used as a veterinary clinic. It has experienced a number of uses since it was originally developed in 1965. The existing building does encroach into that 50-foot building setback, but a comparison of the as-built surveys that were drawn in 1991, which predates the current petitioner's ownership, and 2009 indicate that the remodel did not enlarge the structure. So the structure really has been, the encroachment has existed since at least 1991. There's, adjacent to these 2 lots, there's approximately 110-foot dedication for the Old Glen Highway. And the OS&HP standard for the Old Glen Highway as an arterial road is 100 feet. So the Title 21, which does require a building setback to meet the OS&HP standards, would not apply to this particular case, as the dedication currently exceeds the OS&HP standards. The main comments, the utilities that responded didn't have any objection. However, PM&E noted that Coronado Park, which was formerly Lazy Mountain Subdivision, that the board approved, is a high-density multifamily preliminary plat that has not yet been developed. However, they're going to access onto Coronado Road, and there are discussions underway for traffic improvements at that intersection. PM&E did defer to traffic, and traffic engineering doesn't support removal of the 50-foot building setback line. And ADOT does not support releasing that 50-foot building setback line. They recommended a variance request. However, as mentioned earlier, as the existing dedication exceeds the OS&HP standards, there isn't the possibility of a variance from Title 21 because the standard is exceeded. The property owners are unable to obtain financing due to this encroachment, and it does predate at least nearly 20 years. I wasn't able to find if it predated earlier than 1991. I didn't have any earlier as-built. But an alternative to the variance would be to amend the location of that building setback line, which would relocate it to eliminate any encroachment. The greatest point of the encroachment is 11 feet, which narrows to 6 feet. And the department, based on the hardship that this current property owner basically has inherited and cannot obtain financing, as a compromise does recommend approval of the request to amend that plat note to relocate the 50-foot building setback line to a location into which the existing structure does not encroach, subject to submitting an updated as-built showing the new location for the building setback line in relation to the existing structure, and recording a resolution and the updated as-built survey with the district recorder's office. If the board does approve relocating the section line easement, I do want to note that the planning department does draft the resolution and does do the recordation of the resolution and the updated as-built survey. As there is no development, no building or structure on Lot 8, and due to the comments and the concerns regarding some of the reviewing agencies, does recommend denial of the request to amend that 50-foot building setback line on Lot 8, which is basically used as for parking. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Are there any questions of staff? Carol?
Thank you. Ms. O'Brien, I just wanted to go back to the issue of the traffic situation at the corner of Coronado there. You spoke to it. Do we just, because traffic is already looking into it, do we just assume that that issue will be dealt with, or is there any action we should take?
Through the chair, Ms. Dopey, there is no action for the board to take tonight. It's essentially a design issue. Traffic engineering did not object to recording a resolution to redefine or relocate that 50-foot development setback. The design could be that there's increased traffic and there might have to be traffic lights or turn lanes, and that would require maybe corner roundings for turn lanes. But they did recommend not removing it in its entirety, but to just simply amend it on Lot 9 and leave it the way it was originally platted on Lot 8.
Okay, and just because I'm curious how these things work, we have a citizen who responded with a comment about a split log fence. How does that kind of thing get resolved? This person says the interference from the split log fence recently installed already makes ingress to or across the Rio Glen Highway dangerous. Any further reduction of sight distance to the south should be prohibited. So is that something that traffic deals with? I just don't know. I'm just interested to know what that process is.
There would be a number of options. It could be traffic if it is interfering with the clear vision triangle. It could be land use enforcement that would try to enforce the removing the fence from the clear vision triangle if it's deemed to be a hazard. So that would not be resolved with it. It's a concern, but it's something that would be resolved with the traffic department.
Okay, super. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Margaret, I guess I'm a little confused or concerned about some of this. First off, the 50-foot setback doesn't seem to have any origin in, we don't know why that occurred in the first place. And what we're proposing to do here is going to make for a very odd-shaped lot or an odd-shaped line here, because you're going to have on the corner, as I see it, you're going to have Lot 9 kind of sticking out a little bit further than Lot 8, so you're going to have a little jog there. Would that be correct? To allow for the building on Lot 9?
Mr. Chair, the configuration of the lot won't change. It will remain the same.
The setback will.
Yes, and the setback is not continuous as part of, on 4 of the lots. It's already been removed. So it would be 50 feet on Lot 8. It would be somewhat smaller on Lot 9. And it remains on the southern 2 lots. So it is not a continuous setback anymore. And the situation has existed for a long time because these properties were basically developed in the 60s and 70s. They don't have grandfather rights only because the 50-foot building setback was plotted prior to the structure. So I don't think that it would have a large impact because it's basically it's invisible and you can't see it on the ground. And with traffic recommending an alternative solution, the building would still be there anyways, regardless of what improvements are made. But I think what it is traffic control devices and possibly a turning lane.
Well, yeah, I understand that. My thought is I don't understand why they wouldn't have the same, basically the same line drawn on Lot 8 as line 9 or Lot 9, because that doesn't. I don't see any benefit to traffic or anybody else by having them different. But that's just my odd way of thinking, I suppose.
Mr. Chair, the request was the solution was attempting to be the minimal required to remove the nonconformity from the existing building there is, and to leave it as it is on Lot 8.
Well, I do understand that. I mean, that's not the question. Oh well. We'll now open this for public testimony, unless there's any more questions of staff.
I have one more question, please. My understanding is this is just for a financing issue. It's an existing condition, and it's a financing issue to change the setback. The setback won't really affect any future right-of-way construction or construction of traffic lights, and that right-of-way would need to be acquired from that property anyways if there was any future construction at that intersection.
Through the chair, Mr. Story, that's correct. It really wouldn't. The building exists, and if they were going to do any improvements, they've already got 110-foot wide right-of-way dedication for the Old Glen, and they have a 60-foot right-of-way for Coronado. They do have, so that would be sufficient, I would think, for any traffic improvements. It's hard to give a specific answer because the actual design, it's still being discussed, and it hasn't been determined what needs to be done at this intersection to relieve traffic that will be generated with the future development of Coronado Park subdivision with the added additional traffic there. So I don't know the details of the design. Other than that, it's discussion centered on assisting traffic to move more slowly and to put in some controls, because right now there's only a stop sign and people on Coronado say they are having a hard time getting out onto the Old Glen with the current level of traffic.
Thank you.
Is there any more questions of staff? Is there a representative for the developer or the petitioner here? Please come forward and state your name.
I was having a little trouble understanding what your questions were, Mr. Story.
Okay, I was having a little difficulty understanding what your questions were, sir. I'm Audrey Mason, and yes,
partially under the building in question. The plot was done in 1963, and what I was told from someone who was around at that time, because I've been a legal builder for a lot of years, was that the 50-foot setback was set up for, at that time, the new Grand Highway did not exist. I was told it was put in there in case for any future road purposes they ever had to widen the road, that was put in there. Well, 2 years later, George Maricos built the building, 1965, and it is exactly as it was built back then. And now he built it. Where he did, I have no idea. I didn't realize it was a problem. I took ownership on December of 7. And got to work on doing what we were doing. It's just interior remodeling. Nothing's changed on the outside, and nothing will change on the outside. The additional lot 9, will never do anything other than parking, because we have to have parking in lot 8. Most of the building is taken up with the lot. We found out there was a problem with our aid alone, and we unfortunately have already had 5 or 6 extensions, and basically informed us we're at the end of a rope. Ada said they could not insure the property or loan on the property because the title, they call the 50-foot setback in the building setting within that, they call that a cloud on the title. And so they will not, under any circumstances, loan the property unless that's cleared up. How previous people in Iowa runs up and down that strip have gotten their loans in the past without that being a cloud on the title is beyond me, but I have no idea. I didn't research that. But we've also informed Alaska USA of the same thing, so now Alaska USA refuses to make their additional, they'd be a percentage loan too, because they're also considering that a cloud in the title. For some reason in the past it never was. So I set about trying to solve this problem. I went to the municipality time and time again, spent countless hours, and they said I had 2 options. Move the building or get the plot notes removed. And I said, well, my goodness, I can't move the building. It's been there since 1963. It's not feasible. So then I went about this process. And there's never been any change in how the traffic comes in and out of the parking lot. There is currently, I've heard concerns about a turn lane getting in and out of there. There is a turn lane currently on Road 1 Highway in front of the building. It has been for quite a few years. If they were to install lights, I don't see how removing the plat notes is going to change that at all. They can still put their turn lights in or whatever they choose to do. I will not ever do anything with lot 9, probably lot 8, the additional lot, whichever the lot is, other than parking, because it's a critical use of that space for us. I don't know what to say except I inherited something that is kind of a silly thing. They will never widen the road for road purposes, which was the original intention. I had no clue of this and how it was going to affect me, and the hours and hours I'd spend trying to resolve the issue. But here I am today, and I appreciate whatever consideration you give me, because it has created me unbelievable countless hours and money and time trying to resolve something that is a minor. You have to be quiet. That's kind of my point in all this, and if you have questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Hi. Through the chair, have you read the department recommendations, and if you have, do you agree with them? Do you have any problems or modifications you'd like to see on those recommendations?
Modifications to
the department recommendations on your case tonight?
I'm having a real hard time. Unfortunately, I'm sitting in the back because we had a little baby with us, and I think they said that, I don't know if I fully understand it. I wouldn't have a problem with, and I haven't, if I could hear properly that they would want to leave the vacant lot with the 50-foot and modify, I wouldn't have a problem with that, because I would never do anything with the additional lot other than park vehicles there, which is what it's been used for since 1965. You're welcome.
I was just going to say, I don't know if you have this memorandum from the department, but the recommendation is to approve the request to amend the plat note, and it goes on about to relocate the 50-foot building setback, and subject to submitting an updated as-built survey showing the new location for the building setback line, and then recording a resolution in the updated as-built survey with the district recorder's office. And then the second department recommendation is denial of the request to amend the 50-foot building setback line on Lot 8. Those are the two department recommendations that we're being asked to take action on this evening.
Yeah, I don't think that 80 would have any problem with it, the setback on the additional lot, because it's simply parking.
Mm-hmm.
So if I understand it correctly, then I would have to provide a new as-built survey showing the setback on the lot. I believe it's 9 that has the building, and
specifically it says submitting an updated as-built survey showing the new location for the building setback line in relation to the existing structure on Lot 9.
okay, so they want a survey changing the setback to right where the building is. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. And then the second was recording a resolution in the updated as-built survey with the district recorder's office. That's just.
I have no problem with that either.
And then the last of that is denying the request to amend the 50-foot building setback line on Lot 8.
Makes no difference. It's parking.
Okay. Those are the the department recommendation that we are being asked to vote on this evening.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry.
That's
You can get out there. I was busy thinking of other things that came to my mind. You're very welcome, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Ms. Stolpe.
In the case S-11761-1, Jesse D. Nichols subdivision, lots 8 and 9, I move to approve the request to amend the plat note to relocate the 50-foot building setback line to a location into which the existing structure on Lot 9, Jesse B. Nichols subdivision, does not encroach, subject to A, submitting an updated as-built survey showing the new location for the building setback line in relation to the existing structure on Lot 9, and B, recording a resolution in the updated as-built survey with the district recorder's office.
That motion has been seconded by Ms. Moses. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Just briefly, based on what information has been provided by the petitioner and by the department, I think we should proceed and approve.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? Is there any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. Could I have a motion on the second?
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Stolpe.
In the case of S-11761-1, Jesse D. Nichols subdivision, lots 8 and 9, I move to approve the denial of the request to amend the 50-foot building setback line on Lot 8, Jesse D. Nichols subdivision.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's a positive motion to approve that?
Well, to approve the department's recommendation to deny.
Okay. Okay.
You've got to be wide
Guess
awake
that'll
for
work.
this.
Margaret, is that the correct?
Mr. Chair, the motion would be move to approve the request to amend the 50-foot building setback line on Lot 8, Jesse D. Nichols, and then if the maker of the motion does not intend to support their motion, they would speak to that.
Okay. Could you please restate your motion? It needs to be to approve.
I understand. I was just debating whether I was going to debate it, but I won't debate it. In the case of S-11761-1, I move to approve the request to amend the 50-foot building setback line on Lot 8, Jesse D. Nichols subdivision.
And it's been seconded by Ms. Moses. Would you speak to your motion, please?
I have the same positive comments that I made with the first motion.
Okay. But you're going to vote against the motion?
No, she changed it into a positive.
Yeah, we need to vote against this motion to not approve the amendment to the plat note.
So we're agreeing with
That agrees with the
department's recommendation.
Correct.
And it doesn't cause this petitioner any angst.
Exactly.
So it's a no vote? Is that what you're telling me?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
So you intend to not support your motion? Am I hearing you correctly?
Yes, sir.
Not to put words in your
mouth. No, but you did, and they were the right words, and I appreciate it, and thank you.
Okay. Yes. Okay, we're going to take a roll call vote on this so that everybody knows what they're doing. A yes vote goes against the department's recommendation. A no vote is in line with the department's recommendation. So everybody please vote. Okay, the motion fails. So that means we are not going to approve that amendment, and that's in line with the department recommendations. Moving right along. Yes, Ms. Topey?
I want to make sure the petitioner understands what we just did on that second motion, because I think she
All right, ma'am, what we did was we agreed with what the department recommended. We voted to approve you changing the lot line or the setback on Lot 9, and then we voted against you being allowed to do that on Lot 8.
Okay, so Lot 9, where the building exists, we'll move the setback
Right.
to the front of the building.
Correct.
And Lot 8 stays as...
As it is.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Okay, now we will move on to case S11757-2, Andre subdivision, petitioner Baltazar Arias. Could I have the presentation from staff, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a variance request only. It's a request from the requirement to have a lot width that is at least 1/3 the depth of the lot. AMC 2180-300D. A preliminary plat was approved by the Platting Authority to combine two parcels into one parcel. It was subject to 7 conditions, and that was done under the abbreviated plat process by the platting officer. One of the conditions required the applicant to submit a request for a variance based on the lot depth of 436 feet. A 145-foot lot width is required. A 100-foot lot width is provided. The property is located on the east side of Muldoon between East 14th and 16th Avenues. In reviewing the request for a variance to allow if granted, would allow a final plat to be recorded, the plat basically eliminates some nonconformities. These are 2 parcels that were created by warranty deed, basically an illegal subdivision, and one of the parcels is totally landlocked. If the final plat to combine them into one lot eliminates the illegal subdivision, does not perpetuate this through subsequent ownership changes, and does eliminate a landlocked lot. There is really no conforming alternative for the petitioner to acquire additional property to create a wider lot. There is a deed lot, a remaining deed lot that is located on its north boundary. It is fully developed, as well as the parcels, the lots that abut the south property boundary. So there is no conforming alternative. it really wouldn't violate the intention of the subdivision regulations, and there is some positive to be gained by removing the existing nonconformities, particularly a landlocked lot. Therefore, the department does recommend approval of the variance from AMC 2180-300D, the 1-to-3 lot width to depth ratio for proposed Lot 1 Andres subdivision. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Margaret, is there a flag lot issue here?
Mr. Chair, no, because the width of that extension to the extend to Muldoon Road is 50 feet wide, and that's the minimum lot within a standard lot, so it's not a flag.
Are there any other questions of staff? Thank you. Is the representative of the petitioner here? Okay. Is there anybody else here that would like to testify in this matter?
My name is Fran Bergeron. I've never done this before, so I just have a couple of questions. I know Mr. Baltazar. He's a really nice person, but we have the building right adjacent to these lots, and I have no problem with him extending his boundary. I have a problem with the landscaping, and I'd like to know, it's supposed to be 10-foot boundary, I guess, to the residential, and then I'm wondering to our lot line, because he has a lot of garbage there. I'm talking tires and rims, and he's just flooding the whole area, and it's just terrible to see that. And he's really a nice guy, and he says he's going to do something, and I think what he needs to do is put up a 12-foot wooden fence, and it wouldn't bother me at all. So is there any kind of suggestion that you would have as a taxpayer and as a neighbor that I could suggest, or you could help me suggest what to do for all this?
I don't think that's within our purview. Margaret?
Through the chair, if I may ask, I'm sorry, I don't remember,
Fran, my name is Fran.
Ms.
Gregorin?
Gregorin?
Mm-hmm.
I'm requesting, which property are you? Are you closer to 14th Avenue?
Next door, I'll give you the lot. You're in the Abbas, number 1, lot 2, block 1, right?
2, block 1. I need to check.
So right here. We're right here, and he's right here, right on the line.
Okay.
I guess. Oh, right up here? Okay.
The parcel that you are describing,
Yeah, that's fine.
Mr. Chair, is Zone B3. It's the same zoning district as the petition site. And Title 21 does not require landscaping on one B3 parcel to buffer another like-minded parcel. The petition site that is the subject of the preliminary plat that was approved as well as the variance tonight, it is split lot zoned, and they're required to put in a buffer landscaping between the R2M, which is a residential zoning district, and they're also required to install landscaping, and it does bisect their lot. But there is no requirement in Title 21 that can be enforced unless it could be considered a health hazard, or land use enforcement could come out and look at it. If you've talked with them, I'm not sure.
I did talk to them. In fact, I tried calling this Rick. I think it's Novy, and I gave them 2 days now to look at the property and to advise me, but I called earlier this afternoon, and I haven't heard back from him, but
I know people are busy making their rounds and checking on different properties. So I haven't heard exactly, but I've had people drive through our parking lot. I mean, we have a professional building. We're not leased, so when I see this traffic going through there, and I see rims, and I see old tires just stacked, and Connexes from the yin and the yang, I mean, it's just depressing.
The preliminary plat did not, that was reviewed and approved, just requires a 10-foot buffer landscape easement along each lot line that adjoins a residential zoning district. And your lot is...
Well, this residential district is way back there. I mean, he can put, little trees or whatever, and it's still going to be an eyesore for the whole neighborhood.
Ma'am, the unfortunate part of this is we don't have any action we can take here to help you with it.
Okay, I figured so, but I mean, is there any place I can go with this?
I would talk with enforcement, code enforcement, would be my best guess. And if they're trespassing on your property and using it as a thoroughfare, then that's trespass, and you can take action along those lines.
Well, we're putting up a fence, but he's going to put up a fence that you can see all the garbage. And, I was just hoping that this buffer would extend between our lot and his, but obviously it's not residential, so there's no need for it.
No.
Okay, well, thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I ask one more question?
Sure.
Did you call Mr. Novi on his direct line? You could, or did you call the hotline and lodge a complaint?
I did both. That's how I got his name, was from the person on the hotline, and then she gave me a number, a case number or some number to refer it to him so he knew exactly what we would be talking about.
Through the chair, tomorrow I can contact Rick Novi and tell him about your concerns and try to find out the status of your complaint and try to pinpoint when a site visit is going to be made, or to, ask him. You left your telephone number?
I did, several times.
Okay.
And what is your name?
Margaret O'Brien.
Margaret O'Brien. Okay, well, I appreciate your help. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to testify in this matter? And the matter will rest with the board. Could I have a motion, please? Ms. Stolpe?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve case number S-11757-2, Andres Subdivision Lot 1, approving the variance from AMC 21.80.300.D, which is 1 to 3 lot width to depth ratio for proposed Lot 1 under subdivision.
A motion has been seconded by Ms. Taylor. Would you like to speak to your motion?
I intend to support the motion based on the information we received from staff.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? Is there any opposed? Motion passes. The board will now take up the matter of case S-11759-1, Sisterhood Park Subdivision, petitioner Municipality of Anchorage. Could I have the staff presentation, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is proposed Sisterhood subdivision, tracts 1, 2, and 3. It is a subdivision of 1 lot and 3 tracts and 1 deed parcel into 3 tracts with vacation of easements and right-of-way. It's approximately 26 acres in size. It's impacted by Type C wetlands, and it's subject to 4 zoning districts, which includes the PLIP for Parks, ROSL Residential Office District, R4SL Multiple Family Residential District, and I1 Light Industrial District. There are two ownerships involved in this preliminary plat, the municipality and American Fast Freight, and a subsidiary of American Fast Freight. There's a table on page 7 that basically identifies the 5 parcels that are involved, the ownership of those parcels, the zoning, and the current use of those parcels. There is parks on municipality, municipal-owned property. There is warehousing and freight operations and undeveloped property on the parcels that are owned by American Fast Freight. Basically, this subdivision is submitted as part of a land trade, a rezoning, and replatting that is being coordinated with the Van Buren Street, 48th Avenue area circulation and access improvements. This is a project that has been in planning stages since about 2002. And basically what it is referring to the preliminary plat, the existing Van Buren right-of-way does provide access to American Fast Freight, which is located on proposed tract. What is that proposed tract? Tract 3. It's so there is freight traffic that is going to American Fast Freight, and right abutting the north property boundary is the Anchorage School District warehouse distribution. So there is freight traffic that is also using Van Buren to access that ASD warehouse. And the whole purpose of this preliminary plat is to coordinate the lot lines with the proposed land trade and the realignment of traffic patterns. Basically, Taft Street will be extended southward and provide access to Alaska Anchorage School District site and American Fast Freight site from their east property boundary rather than using Van Buren Street. This road improvement and circulation improvement project will eliminate the freight traffic on Van Buren Street and will eliminate freight traffic on West 48th Avenue, where it is passing by the Spenard Recreation Center. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic. There are 2 schools, Northwood Elementary and a Montessori school, that join the west petition site boundary, and of course Spenard Recreation Center is on the east side of Van Buren Street. So the new circulation pattern that is proposed to be established would take the freight traffic to the west side of the school district site, as well as proposed tract 3. Associated with this is a rezone. It was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission on Monday night. Page 21 of the packet, in a map prepared by Dow HKM, they basically lay out what the new zoning districts will be. It's labeled as Figure 4, but part of the property will be rezoned from R4SL to PLIP. That parcel will be the location of some relocated ball fields that currently exist to the east of this site. The ROSL property will also be zoned to PLIP, and the I1 zone parcel will be rezoned to PLIP. To the south of those darkened or those shaded parcels, there is ROSL and R4SL, which will be rezoned to I1. That is the site of the proposed fast freight. On page 20, Dow HKM also has provided a graphic that shows what the ownership will be after the land trade. American Fast Freight will sell 2.73 acre parcel to the municipality for the relocation of the ball fields. The site where the ball fields currently exist, 2.09 acres, will be transferred from the municipality to American Fast Freight. Part of the request then is to vacate that portion of Van Buren Street, which will no longer provide the major access to the freight uses. It will be located, as shown on this graphic, on the west side, providing access to the Anchorage School District site and the American Fast Freight site. There is also a temporary turnaround that is shown on the preliminary plat that is requested to be vacated. It was to be automatically vacated when Van Buren Street was extended, but now it is the subject of a vacation request along with vacating that portion of Van Buren Street. The one main concern from the reviewing agencies, primarily traffic engineering and project management and engineering, with Alaska Department of Transportation concurring, is that a turnaround does need to be provided at the new terminus of Van Buren Street to provide a turnaround for not only users for the park, but also for fire access and firefighting purposes that would meet the fire requirements. And that is addressed in the conditions of approval. The other concern was the proposed Tract 2 will still remain zoned R4SL. That those special limitations placed a number of buffering requirements on that parcel. And those are outlined on page 9, that a 30-foot screening easement needs to be provided where it adjoins a Tract 3, a 15-foot buffer easement on the north and east boundary of Tract 2, a 15-foot buffer easement on the north boundary of Tract 2, and a 15-foot buffer easement and a 10-foot buffer easement should be increased to 15 feet. That is already provided. Those requirements are also addressed in the recommended conditions of approval. And in terms of the vacation of Van Buren Street, there was no objection to the vacation from the reviewing agencies, as the portion of Van Buren Street that is the subject of this vacation request does conform to a plan for area-wide circulation for this area. It has the support of the Spadard Community Council as well as the Parks and Recreation Commission to improve pedestrian safety, traffic safety, and to divert freight traffic away from the residential streets. In terms of the vacation of the utility easements, a couple of the utilities do request that a 10-foot T&E easement be retained. The department does recommend vacation of the Van Buren Street, partial vacation of Van Buren Street, subject to, and the temporary turnaround, and does recommend approval of the request to vacate the T&E and utility easements, but that is always made subject to the non-objection of all affected utilities. So if any of these utilities need to remain, they will do so on the final plat. And the department does recommend approval of the preliminary plat. AWWU needs to have some of the existing main lines protected with easements, and constructing the turnaround to municipal standards, as well as placing certain notes on the plat, with one amendment on condition 8A. And it reads the first, it says development of Tract 1 is subject to the special limitations of AO 2001-172. that should read development of tract 2. It's not tract 1, it should be tract 2. And so the department does recommend approval of the preliminary plat subject to those conditions that are outlined on page 11, 12, 13, and 14. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Chair.
Are there any questions of staff? Seeing none, could I hear from the petitioner, please? Could we hear from the petitioner? Oh, goody.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Tanya Hickok. I am an engineer and a planner at Dow HKM. We are representing the petitioner of the municipality of Anchorage. We're representing the petitioner of the municipality of Anchorage. With me tonight are Tim Powell with our planning department and Ann Christie with our transportation engineering department. This application, as Margaret described, is to re-subdivide one lot, 3 tracts, and one deeded parcel into 3 individual tracts. The existing parcels are owned by the municipality of Anchorage, American Fast Freight, also known as AFF, and Orbis Inc., which is a subsidiary of American Fast Freight. The municipality of Anchorage has been working with the Spenard County Council for the past 20-plus years, and most recently for the last 5 years with the adjacent property owners in order to figure out a way to improve the truck and pedestrian circulation in the area. As you can see from the area on page 2 of your packet, this immediate area is both industrial and residential by use, and by its very nature has conflicting traffic patterns. The proposed circulation improvements, the rezone, the land trade, and this platting action has the approval of both the Spenard County Council and the Parks and Recreation Commission. The community's long concerns have been the cross-truck traffic and pedestrian children movements. Currently, heavy trucks enter into the neighborhood from Minnesota and Tudor intersection, down through Harding Drive, across west on 48th Avenue, and then south onto Van Buren. Van Buren bisects a pretty major pedestrian movement between Northwood Elementary School, the Montessori School, going back and forth between the Spenard Recreation Center. The proposed circulation improvements, as shown in Figure 6 of your packet, will substantially reduce conflicts between the truck traffic and pedestrian children movements in this area by separating them physically. The heavy trucks will utilize the new Taft extension onto the site of American Fast Freight, and Van Buren will be scaled down to a smaller scale for smaller scale vehicles and pedestrians and community parking. There are several conditions of approval mentioning a turnaround for Van Buren. If you look at Figure 6, we have incorporated that change into the engineering plans at the end of Van Buren Drive. The Planning and Zoning Commission, as Margaret mentioned, did approve the rezoning land trade just Monday, and the next steps would be for the rezone and the land trade to obtain approval at the Assembly. Because the land trade does involve a dedicated park, it does require a approval of the people. It is anticipated that the land trade will be before the Anchorage community during the elections in April 2010. The rezone, the Phase 2 improvements, and the replat will all be contingent upon the approval of the land trade itself. And we have reviewed the staff packet, and We don't have any objections to the conditions of approval with the one amendment, as Margaret mentioned, on 8A. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I'm sorry, I had a question. Through the chair, what's the status of the Taft extension? There's no right-of-way shown currently. How does that work into this deal, getting that one built before this is actually vacant?
We're doing right-of-way acquisition, and so we'll be getting public use easements, I believe, for those extensions.
Thank you very much. You have 6 minutes and 34 seconds. Is there anybody else here to testify? Certainly doesn't appear that way. Unless you have anything else to say. The matter rests with the board. Could I have a positive motion, please? Ms. Stolpe.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of S-11759-1 Sisterhood Subdivision Tracks 1, 2, and 3. I move for the approval, I move to approve the department's recommendations. I'm assuming we need to take these in two motions. Number one would be...
Well, probably three. We've got two vacations and a preliminary plat.
So A would be the first motion and B would be the second motion? Is that what you're saying to me?
Well, we need to approve the vacations first. A, and Margaret, do we need to approve the vacations separately?
Mr. Chair, it might be a good idea because they're two separate types of rights of way. One is utility easements, the other is right of way and a temporary turnaround.
Right. So we need to have a motion for vacations of A and then vacation B.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of the request to vacate a portion of Van Buren Street and the temporary turnaround.
It's been seconded by Ms. Taylor. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Only to comment that there appears to be a unity of effort between the municipality, the school district, and others, and I always find that very appealing. So I'm going to be supporting my motion.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? Are there any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. Okay, can I have a motion on the second vacation, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of the request to vacate the following T and E and utility easements subject to the non-objection of all affected utilities, and that would be a 10-foot wide T&E and utility easements running north-south adjoining that portion of Van Buren Street right-of-way to be vacated. Also, a 10-foot T&E easement running north-south along the common boundary between tracks 1 and 3, extending to the north boundary of the Northwood School site, and also a 10-foot T&E easement running along the southeastern boundary of proposed track 3 and east-west within proposed track 3.
Okay. Could you punch the motion in, please? Thank you. And Ms. Taylor seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion?
No, I'll be supporting the motion for the reasons also stated earlier.
And any further discussion? Are there any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. Ms. Stolpe?
Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of a preliminary plat for 18 months. I'm guessing you don't want me to read 3 pages here.
No, we do need to make note of that one change.
Was that in 8A?
8A, that's track 2 instead of track 1.
So I move for the approval of the plat for 18 months, subject to points number 1 through 8, and noting the change, the typographical error on 8A, which should read, development of Track 2 is subject to the special limitations of AO 2001-172, parens 2. A traffic impact analysis may be required as part of a non-public hearing site plan review for any multifamily development on this tract.
Ms. Taylor seconded. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Only related back to the comments I made earlier. I'll support the motion.
Is there any further discussion? Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay. That concludes the public hearing portion of the meeting. There are no appearance requests. There's no person to be heard. I don't have any reports. Does anybody else have any report? Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been moved. Who made that motion? Ms. Dopey. And Ms. Taylor seconded. All in favor, stand up and walk away. Well, congratulations, we approved your application.